What up, nation? Welcome to another edition, a very special edition of the WiseTake NBA Wise Stream. CK013 here. You can find me on Twitter at CK_013. And I am joined as always by the GOAT, the true OG, Paulie D. You can find him on Twitter at Paulie with 8 D's for those who don't know. Merry Christmas, Paulie.
Yeah, Merry Christmas to you too, bro.
Yeah, man. It's after midnight. It's been official for about 24 minutes, and I hadn't said it to you, man. So my bad on that, man.
Yeah.
Lacking that awareness.
You know, it's weird. This the lead them into lock, but we ain't leading them into lock, Joe.
Yeah.
You know, it's just a slate breakdown.
That's it. Just gonna break down the slate, talk it out. Obviously, you know, many of the people watching, very few on Christmas Day have the time to watch a show leading them into the first game, which is at 12 o'clock. So we decided we're just gonna, you know, give everybody an opportunity to watch it when they're ready to watch it. You know, whatever works for them. Some of them is gonna be right now because it's the only time as they're up wrapping presents for their kids or for whoever. You know, need something to watch. So it's just something to kick it with. You know, some little slate breakdown action. You know what I'm saying?
You know, or before they go out with their friends tonight.
Boom.
Who knows? I don't know.
Doing dirties. That's it. You're going to do dirties. It's Christmas, but you're still going to do it dirty. Right? It's still going to happen.
I give my neighbors the day off on Christmas. And I let them off.
You're very kind.
Let them off the hook.
You're very kind.
Yeah.
With that said, if you're new to the channel, make sure to hit the subscribe button. Hit that notifications bell as well. We do a show leading into lock Monday through Friday. Obviously, the show is an exception because it is Christmas. So, make sure you don't miss a show. You don't miss a breakdown. We normally take you an hour and 15 minutes before lock, take you into lock. But right now, we're doing this old school style, man. It reminds me of the podcast days, man. Right?
It is like podcast status.
Yeah, OG status.
For
OG
sure.
status, indeed. It does. It's all too familiar. With that said, those of you watching, appreciate you guys. Whatever hour you're watching this at, if you could smash that like button at this very moment, it would be glorious. Especially because I anticipate the views coming in waves of this because we're doing this the night before, and people are going to watch at their own pace for different slates. And with that said, it'd be cool if every time I went to look at the views of the video, I saw more and more likes throughout the Christmas. That would make my Christmas really cool. You know? It'd be cool. And I tell you about it, bro. I go, Paulie, check this out, bro. We got, you know, another 10 likes in the last 20 minutes. Like, let's go. Let's go.
Yep. How it goes.
That's how it goes, man. With that said, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays to those of you watching. Hopefully you're spending the day however the hell it makes you happy, whether it's with your kids, whether it's doing a dolo thing. Do your thing, do dirties. If it's making money, make money. And so shout out to those of you. Shout out to the nation still grinding, even on Christmas, still finding a way to grind, finding a way to work towards that goal of DFS complete domination. Shout out to y'all.
Yeah. Good news is no matter, you know, what site you're on, doesn't seem like there's going to be a ton of news. You may just need to like check in 10 minutes before tip off of each game and just make sure there's nothing dramatic. But most of the news I feel like's been cleared up already. LeBron, AD, those guys, there's not a ton of question marks. So that's nice. You know, I mean, I don't know how people on FanDuel are doing it without late swap, but
yeah, it's scary.
It might be a decent day for it, but I don't. That's crazy.
You know what it is? Like, you're right. It's a day where, like, okay, the late swap thing may not kill you as far as injuries as much because we know a lot of the news. But what sucks is, like, for DraftKings players, you really only have to make your decisions by 12 for the first game. You know, like all you have to do is get your exposures ready for that first game. And then if you're only committing, say, 20% of your teams or so, or theoretically the highest players 20% from those games, you can still make decisions afterwards. You got those teams in place. It's going to alter how you make those decisions a little bit, but you can still make those decisions. You know what I mean? Like, you could do the dirty. So there is an edge. On the other hand, if you're playing on FanDuel, you can't do it, but neither can nobody else. So at least you have that satisfaction. You can just enjoy your day. And if you got screwed, you'll take the comfort in knowing that there were others who got screwed with you and did the same thing, and there was nothing they could do about it either. So I respect it. We got some pretty awesome. Comments in the chat already. Just so you know, Paulie. We got MG in there as always doing the thing. You got Steve Sampson saying just put the girlfriend to bed and got a notification. Awesome. Digging it. Happy holidays to you all as well. Yes, thug life all day. All right. With that said, I procrastinated enough. It's time to talk some basketball. The pricing we were talking about before, Paulie, at least on DraftKings, it's kind of interesting, right? It's like you can reach who you want to reach. You can't play everybody together because there's not a ton of value. But there's enough value to where you can reach whatever player you want to reach if you're willing to sacrifice X, Y, Z of your lineup. And there's just a lot of studs, man. We got Harden, Westbrook, LeBron, AD, Paul George, Kawhi Leonard. It just goes on and on and on. Giannis, Embiid.
It's all studs. There's like nothing in the mid tier.
It's glorious.
There's nothing in the mid tier. There's like 12 guys.
That's it. We'll go game by game today. We talked about that before the show, just to make sure we get all of our bases covered, especially since it is the night before. We'll start off with this first game. I got to use a different source for odds because it's not quite. Oh, actually, it should be up there now. Anyway, Boston, Toronto, 12:05 p.m. Eastern start. It's a 12 o'clock lock, I think. We have a 212.5 total currently, and Boston is a 3-point road favorite. Paulie D talked to me about the Boston side of this game. We think Gordon Hayward is probably expected to be back. They said if he does come back, which we'll know by lock. Obviously, it's the first game. He's supposed to start. But again, nothing is official until it's official. Paulie D talked to me about the Boston side.
Yes, I really like this game. I don't know if the field will. It's got one of the lower totals on the slate, but like these are two different teams right now, especially Toronto. Toronto lost 90% of its defensive presence with Gasol, Siakam, and Powell, and like they're just not very good defensively right now. They're playing faster. They're playing very tight rotations. Like for DFS, it all kind of adds up. Like they played the last 3 games, they've scored over 105 points and given up a lot to not very good opponents. And kind of the same goes for Boston. Like they're not as dramatic, but I guess missing Smart and like Robert Williams has, made them more of a transition team and not as good at defense. And it's kind of like the perfect storm where they're hitting each other. Yeah, Hayward coming back is not optimal, and that's not for sure, but we're all kind of assuming he'll be back. He's probable. But regardless, like neither of these teams have any size. Not a ton of good shooters. So, like it leads to a lot of transition kind of opportunities, and this is the one like mid price game where you could kind of stack it up and get a bunch of these guys. Like the Raptors, they're playing maybe 7 guys deep, really just like 5 right now with their minutes, and they're playing huge in DFS. That's what we want. And then Boston, with Hayward coming back, we're not exactly sure how that's gonna play out, but Kemba, Jaylen Brown, maybe even Hayward, depending what his minute situation is, and then a guy like Enes Kanter. I preferred Hayward to be out to like Kanter at 5.2, but those are the guys I kind of like, assuming, in a game stack, you just kind of put a bunch of both teams guys out there. I like the Toronto side better, but from Boston, Kemba and Jaylen Brown are probably my 2 favorites right now, and I like this as a game stack candidate.
I think it makes, as far as like the balance build, if you were looking to do balance builds, and I think that this is a slate where even though there's not a ton of value, it's still a slate where people are going to try to grab some studs. So I do think if you play more of the Celtics players, aside from just Kemba, who I think people will play because it is Kemba at 8K, I think it'll lead you down a path of a balanced build, which could be interesting. I'll grab some exposure for sure. Like you'd mentioned, these are 2 playoff contending teams. Obviously, this is 2 teams that know they're 2 of the better teams in the East, and it's Christmas on national television right out the gate. And like you said, both teams are missing pieces. Mainly, well, for Boston, missing a guy like Marcus Smart, that's pretty big for defensive purposes, right? Like that's you got Van Fleet and Lowry. You could use Marcus Smart for a matchup like this. You know what I'm saying? So I'm with you. I think that these are two teams that are known for their defense, but are just right now maybe not in the best defensive situation. So with the Boston side, I think like Tatum is the one that to me gets hurt the most with Hayward coming back, and that's mainly because number one, they do alternate playing similar positions, and number two, Tatum's price has now gotten up to a point where there's a demand right there for a guy that's you know what I mean. There's a demand. 7,800 on DraftKings.
Mm-hmm.
So I do think Hayward's interesting, Kemba's interesting, and I agree with you on Jaylen Brown as well. And of course, some of the lower owned options, like real low owned, if we want to get down and dirty, guys like Enes Kanter, Daniel Theus. Theus is only 3,900. Cantor's 5'2". Kanter, we know Kanter's got the God mode thing. You got to respect that. Right? On Christmas, man, he's straight God mode in NBA, man. You know, we got to respect it.
And Toronto's got no size. Really, you know, without.
No, Kanter should be able to. He's a terrible defender, we know that. But on the offensive end, he should be able to have his way with whatever he wants on the other end of the ball. So I definitely think the centers are also worth looking at.
What about like Wanamaker? Any interest at 3.6? Been playing minutes in the high 20s last 3 games.
I mean, kind of, because we're hurting for value. Like, I would love to say we have a lot of better guys, no, but we don't have a lot of better guys. We have maybe a couple, and none of them are really that reliable. So it's like, is he that much worse? He's worse, but is he that much worse? Not enough to not have him on a 5-game slate with no value at all. So I'll probably end up having some, realistically.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you just wish Smart was there so you wouldn't have to consider that at all. That's what you wish. With that said, let's go over to the Toronto side of the ball. I think you and I both have a little bit more interest in the Toronto side. Well, I know that to be a fact. With that said, Paulie, drop dirties on him.
Yeah, I mean, I love the Toronto side. Lowry at 8.5 is like a discount off some of the studs above, like Westbrook, LeBron, Simmons. He's actually a tad bit more expensive than Simmons, but he's played 44, 42, and 41 minutes since that injury barrage. He's gone for 45, 60, and 53. Game should be close. He should, threaten a triple-double. Kemba Walker D's not very good. Hard to see. Like, he feels like a great cash game play, and then I think his ownership's going to be low as well, so it makes him a good tournament play. I think 40 to 50 is like, his median, and anything above 50 is just awesome. And then, like, he correlates with everybody because of his assist ratio. Love Serge Ibaka at 7.3 against Boston. Bigs kill Boston. He's getting all these minutes at center. His usage has been over 20 all year, and now he played 42 minutes last game. The game did go to overtime, but even without the overtime, he's going to see like 32 to 37, and the usage is huge. He took 21 shots in that last game, didn't even get a double-double, and he's a huge block and steal guy. Like, love him. Fred VanVleet at 7K makes a ton of sense. He missed minutes in one of those 2 of the last 3, but the other 2 games he played 34, 41, went for 42 and 48 at 7K. We'd take all that. The usage has been in the mid-20s. The shot attempts are close to 20. The 3-point attempts, which he has shot terribly from, 1 of 8, 1 of 7, 1 of 4. That has, progression coming. 11 assists last game, 2 blocks, 2 steals. Like, a lot of that at 7K. He's very attractive. OG at 5.4 makes a ton of sense, should get a ton of minutes. And then, Rondé Hollis-Jefferson played 38 minutes last game, 29. He's clearly past Boucher, McCaw, Davis, all these guys, and getting basically starters minutes, maybe even does start tomorrow. And it's another, big-ish kind of guy against Boston. After that, I don't know if there's anyone on their bench I'm that interested in. Like, I don't mind a dart throw at Terrence Davis at 3.8. I don't see anyone else. Like, I feel like this is a six deep team. I mean, you could take a shot at Boucher at 4,800, but minimal exposure. They played 14 minutes in an overtime game. Like, they're playing their guys very, very thin rotation. That's a DFS cheat code in a game that's supposed to be close. And I think the total is too low for what these teams really are. So love the Toronto side. I'll have a lot of 3, 4, and 5 man Toronto stacks tomorrow.
Yeah, I think it makes sense. I like Lowry also from the Toronto side. One of the guys you have to consider the usage, the minutes. Like you said, 40 minutes over his last 3 games. But Van Fleet is the one that I think I like a little bit more, and maybe the one I get more exposure to. He comes with more risk. I think no doubt that Lowry seems to have a higher floor at this point because he's just his role in the team, everything. But I think Van Fleet, his floor is comparable and his ceiling is maybe not as massive, but like in terms of returning you 6x, maybe a little more likely, right? Like he's got to project. Like what do we have? We haven't projected, and right now we haven't projected for like not even 37 minutes, which there's a risk there because the floor minutes we saw against Dallas for whatever reason could end up being low. Now, but the ceiling of minutes could be just as good as Lowry to a degree. So, I'm sure he'll project well. I'm sure he's going to be a guy that I end up with a good amount of exposure to. The other ones I'll work in. Ibaka's another one for sure. I mean, they decided to lower his price despite the fact that he, keeps playing extremely well in the situation. But I think Van Fleet and Ibaka are my favorites, and then the other ones I'll kind of grab exposure to as well. I will say this: I think the ownership on this game may be a little bit higher on FanDuel, just because people are going to know everything. Like I know there's not a ton of questionable news, but I think on FanDuel people just kind of have that comfort of like not wanting to get burned, and I think the later the game is, the less likely you're going to see them to be chalk. I'm not saying they won't be owned, but maybe not chalk. Whereas on DraftKings, guys are going to maybe have more, almost the opposite. Like, you know what? I don't want to make a decision right now. So maybe I'm not going to play this game so much so that I can make my decisions later because I really like that second game and I want to wait until to know the starting lineup and know who's playing. This is like, for instance, in the Clippers game, this is the first time that they're all healthy, like and going to play together. Like the full 9-man rotation they have because JaMychal Green's been out. So he's expected to return. This is gonna be, so we have, could be interesting. With that said, let's go over. I think that's the next game.
Wait, we're real quick. Not gonna lie, I just saw the question in chat, and I hadn't even thought about this guy, Grant Williams. He has played a lot of minutes. Guy asked if we like him from Boston, but those were blowouts. Gonna have to dive deeper into that and see where those minutes were. But at 3-5, if we do think that he can get even 20 minutes in this game, he could be an option. But we have to see. Both those last 2 games where he played 30 and 22 minutes, took 10 and 6 shots, and were big time blowouts. But
and also Hayward was
good call.
Out. Also Hayward was out.
And Hayward was out.
You had a combination of Hayward and Smart together. They've been playing Grant at the forward position, so Hayward's going to directly impact him and impact the usage when he's actually on the court.
Yeah, I'm probably not on it, but it's a good point out. Whoever that was, shout out to you.
Holla.
Dirty style. Love it.
Holla. Yeah, definitely a good catch. I'm just a little concerned about Hayward coming back. What that means for him. With that said, let's go over to the next one. It's actually I was wrong. It's the Milwaukee game. My bad. Milwaukee visiting Philadelphia. Got a 220 total. Milwaukee currently 2.5 point favorites on the road. This game is pretty exciting. At least I know you and I were talking about a few things, and as our old friend used to what it would say in the situation, it's going to be an anatomy contest. It's just going to be, it's just going to be wild. Just a battle, slang on slang. Let's go, between Embiid and Giannis, of course. With that said, Paul, let's start the Milwaukee side. Talk to me about the Milwaukee Bucks and what you like here.
Love Giannis, love Embiid on the other side. Think that those two have like a, like anatomy contest thing going, and we've seen it in multiple games last year. These are probably the 2 best teams in the East currently without, the trade deadline changing things. And I just expect a very intense, very close game. And Giannis is just too cheap at 11-3 with Bledsoe out. One of my favorite studs on the slate. Think Middleton is a really nice piece. I think like he's the guy you want to grab in close, competitive games. So this would fit that bill at 6,500 on DK. Um, like Brooke Lopez, on a slate where we're kind of starved for value at 5K, he could help make things fit. And they're probably going to need his size against Philly. He's got pretty decent history against them. And he's got 12 blocks in his last 3 games. So that's cool. Although Philly does not get blocked a whole ton. Also, like George Hill at 43, with Bledsoe out, he's been getting good minutes. And, I think the veteran guys in this kind of game kind of step up. Don't mind Ilyasova as well as like a sneaky value play. Don't think many people will be on it, but former team and huge point per minute guy, 3-4, and they're gonna need more of like their size guys than like the Wes Matthew, Connaughton, Corver, DiVincenzo guys against Philly. So Ursan is one of my like sneaky value plays I like honestly, as well as Hill and Lopez, but Giannis is probably going to be one of my highest owned players and probably my highest owned stud on the slate.
Yeah, I agree, man. When I was going through this game earlier, the first thing that stood out to me. So we already know that what's his name? Eric Bledsoe obviously is out. So we know that when Giannis is on the court, his usage is really high. We know Middleton also sees the usage increase, all that good stuff. When I went back and looked at the 3 games that Giannis played against the Sixers last year, it was pretty crazy how him and Embiid just went back and forth the entire game. For those that don't know, last year Giannis saw the Sixers on October 24th, March 17th, and April 4th. And the DraftKings game logs, the DraftKings scores that Giannis put up was 81, 91. No, I'm sorry, 81 and a half, 91, 83.25. Those are the DraftKings points Giannis finished with. And his 3 games against the 76ers. So, without a doubt, he's 11-3. It's really not that bad for the upside he has. We know when Giannis this year is on like a whole other level already. And on top of that, he's rarely pushed. And this is a game where he should be pushed. This is a game, especially without Bledsoe, you expect the Sixers to be competitive, another playoff type atmosphere, Christmas, national television, everything. So, with that said, I'm with you. Giannis is probably my favorite play on the slate. One of, because the guy on the other side I like a lot too. But anyway, you mentioned Middleton, sure, getting exposure to this game. Brolo is my next favorite actual play, though. You make a really good point. He's sneakily been doing really well without Bledsoe here also, like, doing more. And on top of that, he's already actually done well against Embiid in the past. So at his price, I think it's low enough to where we can buy in a little bit on that. I'm cool with everybody else, but those are the main 2 from this game. And Giannis is on a different level as far as what I think. He's on a different planet. Talk to me about the 76er side, Paulie.
Another team in a close game where I don't think they go that deep into their bench. Love Embiid. There was a game last year, maybe multiple, where him and Giannis kind of went back and forth, anatomy contest style. He's 9,800. Don't even understand that price. Milwaukee gets beat by bigs. Giannis, their only real good rebounder. I expect the usage to be super high. When Embiid is motivated, you want him, especially at 98. Simmons is a guy like I won't have much of, but I'll have like 10% of for sure without Embiid in case Embiid gets in foul trouble or whatever. He'll pick it up, but otherwise, I'm like way heavier on Embiid over Simmons. And then like Harris, Richardson, Horford, all just like nice pieces. Just won't be able to afford much of them with a lot of Giannis and Embiid. But I do think Horford's interesting. And then, James Enos at min price is one of my favorite value plays on the slate. Veteran, he can guard guys like Harris and Richardson. Played 18 and 24 minutes in the last 2 games. Went for 18 and 22 DraftKings. They were not very close games against Washington and Detroit. but just he's the only guy off the bench I think they're really going to use. I don't see anyone else getting any significant minutes. So, min price, even if he doesn't do anything, the fact that he'll allow you to get like Giannis and Embiid into a lineup might be worth it. So I got my eye on him, but mostly Embiid.
Yeah, I agree with you on Embiid, man. I'm actually going to end up having to raise his projection even higher because how deep the center position is. But they lowered his price 9,800. Not really sure why. And I had mentioned to you the game scores. I mentioned to the nation the game scores of Giannis when these teams played last year. And I'll tell you, Joel Embiid's, who's only 9,800 on DraftKings, those 3 games last year where they played Milwaukee, while Giannis went crazy, Embiid was going for 70.25, 78.75, and 84.25. So these guys literally just go at it. Now, I understand the Philadelphia team is different, so I don't want to necessarily expect the same results. Al Horford is there now. He could make things a little bit more difficult for Giannis, and in turn could take a little bit of usage away from Embiid. So I'm not necessarily saying I'm expecting both these guys to go for 80s and 90s, but I do know that
Jimmy Butler was there last year.
Jimmy Buckets was there. That's a good point. It's a good point.
Not worried about usage, really.
Yeah, no. That's a really good point. Point being, though, it's just like these guys have had that much of like an awesome feud. You just got to get some. They just go at it. What you gonna do? They just go at it. Outside of it, I'm actually cool with Horford and Tobias, and I don't even mind Ben Simmons from a matchup perspective with DiVincenzo, George Hill. Like Ben Simmons is way bigger than these dudes, like way stronger and bigger. So I'm cool with him too. I'm good with game stacks of this, of course, but Giannis and Embiid are my 2 favorite plays from the game. 30s and 7s. Let's go to the next one, Paulie. We've got Houston. Houston Rockets visiting Golden State. We've got a 226.5 total, which is the highest on the slate, an 11-point spread. Houston, obviously, big road favorites here against Golden State. Harden, Westbrook have been on a tear. Paulie, talk to me about the Houston side.
So this game is mostly a stack it or kind of leave it, except for the studs. Like if Houston blows out Golden State, which they should, one of Harden or Westbrook smash. Probably not both because it's just too big of a smash to have enough for both. And then I don't think really Capella, Tucker, McLemore, House, any of those guys really crush. I mean, House and McLemore are cheap enough, even Tucker, to be fine plays on this slate. But I think when this game goes off, it's because Golden State hangs in there. Golden State really did hang in there one time already this year on the road in Houston without D'Lo. And both Harden and Russ played that game. So, Vegas has this line lower than I thought. It is in Golden State. It is Christmas. Like, maybe the game plays close and, a full game stack is like the optimal play tomorrow. So, I think it's one of the 2 studs in that stack, Harden or Westbrook, and then all or whatever combinations of McLemore, House, Tucker, a little bit of Capella. Capella correlates with both Harden and Westbrook with all the assists they get, but I just don't think Harden and Westbrook, I want it all together tomorrow. So I think I'm going to put a rule into one or the other, not both. And then it's more so about what Golden State can do. If they get blown out, then it's probably just one or the other. Most likely Harden just goes for 70 and crushes, and no one else does enough to be worth it. Or if Harden has a bad game, then it's Russ, but still no one else is enough to be worth it. But if the game is close, the stack could be awesome, and then I just want as much of both sides as I can get.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense for sure. Harden and Westbrook, if they were in a close game, it would be hard to just sit here and even just say, oh yeah, it's definitely Embiid and Giannis for us over all these guys. Right? It's Harden and freaking Westbrook, some of the 2 of the the best fantasy producers out there. And the issue, of course, is like that lingering spread, and the expectation this game should blow out. With that said, I'll be sure to grab around 20% or so of like generally of this game. Some players higher than others, but generally of this game, because if this does stay close, I agree, Paulie. I think it comes in lower owned, and I mean it's the NBA. Anything can happen. D'Lo himself can keep them in this game. He didn't even play the last time you'd mentioned. Alec Burks is playing really well. Damian Lee's kind of coming into his own. Willie Cauley-Stein's been playing a lot better. So it's definitely a possibility. And with that said, we'll talk about the Golden State side in a minute, but those guys also with a look. But at the very least, it's pretty easy to commit to the Rockets side of the ball. James Harden, his price came down last time. It's up a little bit, but still affordable. Russell Westbrook, his price is still way down when you consider Russell Westbrook. And he's finally been coming into his own. He's been hot lately. Danuel House, very, very cheap. He's cheap on both sides, but especially on DraftKings. I'm sure on a slate where there's not a ton of value and a lot of studs you want, he's got to be one of the highest owned plays tomorrow. And then even Capella, man. Like Capella is become one of the more like he's just like Harden and Westbrook in terms of minutes. They'll play this dude 40 minutes in a regular game. He played 41 minutes against the Kings, a game that they were kind of blowing him out and they let him back in at the end. And Capella just kind of ended up getting 41 minutes. Like when they really need help at the big position, he's the guy. And this is a nut spot for him. Just a nut spot for Capella. So I'm with you. I'm going to have more Rockets, I think, than the field. At least I hope. Looking around at ownership projections, it doesn't seem, it's kind of early to really like trust any of them, but it doesn't seem like outside of Westbrook that too many people in this game in general are getting a ton of attention. But we'll have to see. I mean, it's a short slate. People are going to find their way around to it. It's got the highest total on the slate. So, but I'm definitely interested in the Rockets side, though. With that said, talk about the Golden State side.
Yeah, so Golden State, I think, is fine regardless of the outcome. Like, they're just going to play good minutes in a pace-up game at very, very affordable prices. D'Angelo at 7-4. Maybe the riskiest because he's got to do the most, and maybe if it's a huge blowout, they pull him. But he's pretty much played like 33 minutes a game, like the last 10 or so. And the usage is over 30. The shot attempts are in the 20s. The threes are over 10. He's getting some assists. The Rockets turn it over a lot. There's upside, and maybe they do keep this close. Draymond Green, when Golden State is in games, like when they beat up Minnesota the other day, he played 33 minutes, went for 36. At 6K, you will take that. I'm sure he's got a lot of animosity towards Houston, being that they played in the last two rounds a few of the last years. Alec Burks has been awesome of late. He started last game. I think that's because Glenn Robinson wasn't there, but I think Robinson plays, and I think he goes back to the bench. But I think that's even better for Alec Burks, getting all the usage on the second unit. And he's gone for 40 plus in his last two, and 35 plus in 7 of his last 8. Just taking a ton of shots. Going to be guarded by like Austin Rivers, Danuel House, Harden. No one good at defense. Then Glenn Robinson's one of my favorite value plays on the slate if he plays. Like, he should get minutes in the 30s. His usage has been in the teens. The shot attempts have been over 10. He gets rebounds. He gets steals. He just should be out there a lot regardless of the score, as long as he's playing in at 4-4. Regardless of a blowout or a close game, I think he just makes value and allows you to get whatever combination of studs you want. Willie Cauley-Stein's really cheap. Never really done well against Capella. I'm really nervous about him in this spot, but you can't really ignore the minutes. I think he's going to end up getting a little popular because of his price. I'm not that into it. I like Robinson, Lee, Burks, Draymond, Russell a lot more. And then Marquise Chris, I think, is an interesting, dart throw if you're building a ton of teams. He's 3,700. Used to play for the Rockets. He's been awesome point per minute. Could get blowout run and do great. Or maybe someone gets in foul trouble like Willie Cauley and they need him to play more minutes. Kevin Looney's already ruled out. He's 3,700. He's a guy I'll be, 10% of and be double the field for sure. So just a sneaky value play. But I like this game. I like stacking it, of course. And even when not stacking it, I like a lot of the Golden State, regardless of script.
Yeah, I completely agree. Golden State's another team that kind of fits the mid-tier style build. Like Alec Burks, all these guys are priced around that mid-tier. D'Angelo Russell, obviously a good candidate. He's never played well against Harden, but you don't really see why. Like, why? It's just,
Yeah, it makes no
it makes
sense.
no sense at all. So I fully expect there to be a day where he does do just fine, and I can only blame variance. I don't think Harden's defense is locking him down. Not the type of player he is. Um, Maybe foul trouble's been an issue. Not sure. Either way, I'm going to be playing some D'Lo. And again, I'm going to have exposure to this game in general for tournaments for obvious reasons. But I agree with you. I think the Golden State side is almost safer to a degree. The rotation could be in question. Cauley Stein, I'll have some of our projections. I'm sure a lot of projections are going to like him because already been playing healthy dose of minutes. He's very, very cheap. And like you said, Kevon Looney's already been ruled out. However, I actually think that Marquise Chris is very interesting as a value play. 3,700 on DraftKings. Revenge spot. And he's already getting like, say, 11 to 13 minutes. Looney's been playing, he played like two games ago and 9 in the last game. You add that to Chris, and he's up to anywhere from 18 to 20, which is what truly all you're looking for anyway from a guy like him. Now, it's possible that some go to Spellman and it gets split. So this is a player I can't go crazy heavy on because it's really just more of a hunch. But if he gets in this game, man, Marquise Chris he'll do some dirties. He gets in this game. I'd be very surprised if he does get minutes and he doesn't do well. If he doesn't do well, I'm going to assume because he didn't get enough minutes. But if he gets 20 minutes and doesn't do well, I'll be shocked. If he gets 20 minutes at all, I'll be shocked. But I'm going to have some.
And blowout run Marquise Chris would be awesome tomorrow.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. Even like you had mentioned that Cauley Stein hasn't played well against Capella. And again, like I'm going to have Cauley Stein. Our projections like him. There's a reason. He's very cheap and he's been playing well. It makes sense. Played 30 minutes the last game, 28 before that. But I will say this, 20 minutes against Houston earlier this season, 3 fouls. He's had a couple games against him where he's gotten into foul trouble against Capella. So, and it's not even Capella, it's also Harden. When Harden's driving to that rack, he's the king of it, man. So there is definitely a world where Chris gets in this game for blowout or not for blowout, just in general. It's game script. So again, not somebody we're going to take like
looking at Willie Cauley, right?
Yeah.
He played Minnesota without Cat, did well. Played New Orleans, they got no center, did well. Played Portland, Hassan Whiteside's been terrible.
Yeah.
Played Sacramento, they got no center, right? Then he played Utah, Gobert, did terrible. Played the Knicks, Mitch Robb, did terrible. Like, I'm down on Willie Cauley, but the price is enticing.
Yeah. I again, the situation where he's going to project well, but even him projecting well, I'm capping him at a certain point because number one, center is probably one of the most loaded positions on this thing, and number two, I'm with you. I'm just not into it, with him. I do like the Marquise Chris idea though. Let's go over to the next one, Paulie. We got the LA Clippers visiting LA Lakers. Probably the most anticipated game. We got a 222.5 total. This is the second highest total on the slate. The Lakers are currently 2-point favorites at home. Obviously, both teams play in the same stadium. Battle of LA, round 2. I think the Clippers dusted these guys in the first game. They didn't even have Paul George, and they beat up the Lakers pretty bad, I think, at the beginning of the season. We'll start off with the Clippers side. First time I'd mentioned that all 9 of their regular rotation players are healthy, including JaMychal Green, who's expected to make his return from the tailbone madness. Paulie D, talk to me about the Clippers.
I'm trying not to be biased, but I think the Clippers, fully healthy, just smoked the Lakers. A lot of times these high-profile games blow out one way or the other, and I just don't think the Lakers can hang with this team fully healthy. Love the Clippers side. Love Kawhi, right? I don't think he gets up for much in the regular season, but this game he will. He's really too cheap on DraftKings, and I think going against LeBron and the other LA team, he'd love to make a statement here. Paul George is going to be crazy popular. He's awesome. I'm going to try to be under the field a little bit, though. Like, I think it's more Kawhi or they blow them out and he doesn't get there. But you got to have some at his price. And if the game is close, he's just too cheap. But I love Lou Williams, 5'8", whatever the fuck he is, 5'8". Yeah, that's crazy. I'm playing Lou Williams every day at these prices. We talked about the whole, like, he only played 10 minutes and a half because he wasn't shooting. Doc got on his case. He got thrown out of the game out of frustration. One of, like, the least technical, ejected kind of players in the league. And then he comes back and shoots 13 times in 24 minutes and 20 times in 36. If the game's close, I think he goes nuts and wins the game for the Clippers. And even if it's a blowout, I think they let him go as long as he's being aggressive, which I don't see why he wouldn't. The Lakers have been turning the shit out of the ball over. Like, Lou Williams get a lot of steals, get assists. Like Montrezl Harrell at 5'5", think he'll be pretty popular at that price. Don't love it because the Lakers do have size and they're tough to be beat inside. But Lou Will's one of my favorite plays on the slate. Kawhi not far behind. Don't mind Pat Bev, Landry Shamet, Zubac as like darts. And then I really like J. Michael Green at 3,400. I think most of the field's going to forget about this guy. He's, only played one game in the last 2 weeks. Has come back from injury, but played 18 minutes. Went for 21 against OKC. Think those minutes will increase because they need guys with a little bit of size. And 3,400 for a guy I think will play 22 minutes helps get you multiple studs. So like J. Michael Green and love Kawhi and Lou Williams.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, initially when I first did the video, and even now, I like Paul George. I think it optimally his price, everything is upside, everything makes sense. I like PG. I'll play him. With that said, I for game theory purposes, I kind of like the other guys like Embiid and Giannis more because it is such a high profile day. It is the Christmas slate, and all the games are one by one. They're all on TV, and so my bias, I guess, from a game, and I'm somebody who's not afraid to play chalk. You know me, Paulie, but I'll play Paul George, but I don't want to be any more than the field because I think he could still be like. I don't think you have to fade him to be different. You can obviously play him and get different elsewhere, but I just kind of like the idea of the Embiids and the Giannis's, the players that I don't think will be as popular. I just kind of like the idea of that. And like you mentioned, most of the time, these high profile games, like the highest profile game, which is this one, do have a tendency to get out of hand. And I happen to agree with you that I think the Clippers are significantly better than the Lakers. So I'll have my exposure. Paul George and Lou Will are my favorites here. I'm cool with the value guys taking shots, and then on the value side, I do think JaMychal Green is interesting at 3,400, and this is a slate we're hurting for value, so I don't mind it. I don't hate the spot for Zubac, not because I think it's a great matchup. Obviously, I don't like attacking the Lakers with centers. But he is a value option to consider, and Harrell is very, very small in comparison to this Lakers team. So there may be some situations where either he gets into foul trouble or something happens where they actually need Zubac on the court for whatever reason. So again, nothing more than like a sprinkle because the center is a very, very important position I think on Christmas on the slate. So, but just a guy to consider. With that said, Paulie, take us over to the Lakers side.
Another quick tidbit on Paul George. Like, if you look at his game logs, all of the games he's done poorly, he's had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in the last month. All of those Kawhi played. Like, most of his big games are when Kawhi's not there. I think Kawhi is the best player in the NBA right now. Like, I think Kawhi steals the show from Paul George. Spend the extra 800 for Kawhi. Lakers, like, it's a better spot for AD, but if the Lakers hang, it's because LeBron balls out. And I think he's going to want to. I think he most likely keeps this game close. This could be awesome. He'd be my favorite Laker of the studs over AD, even though it's a much better AD spot. Have some interest in JaVale McGee as a value play. Kyle Kuzma is a value play. Danny Green is a value play. And then a little bit of Rondo, although I have some concerns with Rondo. I think he might be playing hurt. I've not liked the way he's looked. Like, I've watched him play the last 2 games. And, one was not really the closest of games, but the other one, he just was not aggressive. I think there's something up with him. I think he's going to be popular at his price, and Rondo on national television is not a spot I usually fade, but I'm going to be very low on Rondo, which, I think will be contrarian. McGee, Kuzma, Danny Green, those are the value plays. LeBron, I like a lot. AD, I'm not that high on 10% or less for me.
Yeah, I wasn't very high on Anthony Davis. I do like LeBron if you're going with a closer game script. He's my favorite of the studs. I actually do like Rondo. It's national TV. It's his deal. I know he was on national TV recently and busted. I'm not too concerned with the ownership because I think you got Lonzo Ball also on the slate at like 4,800, and I think people are more likely to click his name only because like people still have it in their mind that he's like got a solidified role, whereas he's definitely coming off the bench. He's, it could be the same. Either way, he's going to be owned. You're right. You're absolutely right. There's not a lot of value. Not a lot of value. He's one of the upside guys. But it's a marquee game. I think Rondo gets up for it. I haven't been thrilled with the way he's been playing either, but I do think he gets up for it on national TV, Christmas Day, everything else. But only if this game stays close. Because when a guy's coming off the bench like him, if this game don't stay close, he's looking at like 20 minutes. So for him to get anything decent, this game's got to stay close. So I would only play him in close game scripts, and I prefer LeBron if I'm picking a point guard from this game. The other interesting part to me is the value centers, right? Like we love to attack the Clippers with these centers. Between McGee and Dwight Howard, you got to figure one, maybe even both, should just smash in this spot. Like that could be a big factor of how these guys keep it close, is if those centers play well. Because that's one spot the Clippers have been able to do nothing about, is centers. They just can't stop anyone. So the only problem is that, again, center is one of the more deep positions, and like we talked about Embiid, like some of these guys we feel like we need. But JaVale McGee is 3,900, Dwight Howard is 4,100, and whenever they are on the court, they will have a really good matchup. The issue is, of course, how many minutes are they actually going to get to play, because lately they've both been getting around 17 or so. Like, yeah, not really a ton to go off of. With that said,
you rather one of them or Kuzma?
On a normal situation, I mean, I guess Kuzma, because he's at a forward position where I got more flexibility with him, and you can, the concept of pairing him with. But I do think at this moment right now, I feel like maybe, I don't know. I was going to say I feel like maybe like McGee and Howard may have more upside, but I don't really believe that, because I know what Kuzma can do. It's just his new role in this team's a little bit different, right? He's coming off the bench. He's not always closing, but we've seen them move AD to center. I'm just trying to think in terms of this game. Is that something they'd be likely to do?
McGee or Howard?
Slightly McGee.
Yeah. Agree.
Yeah. Tough call. But Kuzma, I'll end up having more ownership of, because it's going to be easier to grab. He's forward eligible instead of like, all these. I have so much Embiid, it's going to be hard to jam. I got Capella I got to fit in now. I got a lot of centers going on here, man. Last game on a slate, we got another center to talk about, but we got Nolens, the New Orleans Pelicans, visiting the Denver Nuggets. Total in this game, currently 218.5. Denver 9.5 point favorites. Late night hammer action. Game has a 10:35 p.m. Eastern start. Talk about New Orleans.
Man, the only thing I like about this game is that it's going to be low owned, but I don't see much that I like outside of Derek Favors. Too cheap. Played back-to-back games with 27 and 30 minutes. Double-digit shots, double-digit rebounds. Like, Jokic, not a good defender. He's the one play I really like from the side, but Ingram's usage is way down since Favors came back and Lonzo moved back into the starting lineup. Drew Holiday is really cheap. He'd be my next favorite. I'll have a couple stacks of this game because I think it's going to be so low owned, but Denver plays very slow. They go very deep. Hard for me to envision this being the spot of the night, but because of that reasoning, I'll have a couple game stacks, like 5% of my total teams will be stacks this game. Holiday and Favors, the only two I really like on the New Orleans side.
I don't disagree at all. The New Orleans side is probably the side of this game, and I'm with you. It's not a game I want a ton of, but a game I want some of. You don't want the late night hammer to be going, and you don't have anything. That'll ruin your Christmas real quick. With that said, the Denver side is obviously the more appealing side. They're the ones that are going to be getting a boost in pace. They're the ones that have a soft defensive matchup. It's literally the complete opposite for all the New Orleans players. So I agree. I find it harder to like these guys. Lonzo Ball is worth looking at 4,800. His role seems to be up in the air. He seems like he can't even win this. He can't even win a true role on this team right now. It's pretty sad, honestly. But he is cheap. Somebody that I'll have some exposure to. You mentioned Derek Favors. I genuinely like that. He recently went through, a personal loss. I think his mother or something like that. He's back. His minutes are getting elevated. Maybe he plays a bit more motivated on Christmas Day. I don't know. Either way, Favors' price is good. And we know that Jokic has been awful defensively. He's been terrible. And you're getting an opportunity to take a center and play him at power forward. That sounds like a pretty good situation to me. So I like Favors. He's my favorite one. I like that call. He's my favorite from this game on the New Orleans side. I'm okay with Holiday because his price is down. Ingram, I have a hard time getting to. You got him and Paul George, very close around each other. It's hard to click his name over PG if you're going to that tier. Not to mention the other guys. But Holiday, I'm with you. Ball, I'm cool with. Favors, my favorite. Let's go over to Denver.
Not much I like on Denver either. Jokic, you just got to get a little exposure to at 9-4 on this kind of slate because he could trip dub, break the slate in a close game, and go for 70, but the probability is low, but you got to get some. Jamal Murray, worth a little bit of attention, but, at 7-1, it's not great, but he has gone for 40-plus in 3 of his last 4, being very aggressive, usage way up. Will Barton's probably my favorite from this spot in terms of price, usage, matchup, all that. And then, darts on Plumlee, Grant, and Monty Morris. But, I want to like this game more. I just can't. I can't get there.
So I agree with a lot of what you said. We hadn't talked about this game at all. But Will Barton, first of all, if I'm going to pick a starter, I think it's Barton. He's the one that's got that ceiling, that's just got that, he could do it from rebounding, he could do it from scoring, assisting. He kind of does a little bit of everything. So you feel good. Second of all, Jokic is a guy you're going to – centers against this team have destroyed. Favors is still on somewhat of a restriction, which means you're going to get some Jackson Hayes who looks clueless on the defensive end out there. I think Jokic is somebody you have to play. I'm cool with Jamal Murray. I think he's going to get a lot of Drew Holiday. That worries me a little bit. But I'm cool with Jamal Murray.
And Lonzo, who's not, terrible at D.
Right.
It's tough matchups for him.
Right. And I think that the other thing I like that you said was when you talked about the bench. Because this game, it's got all the makings for a blowout. It's not the biggest spread. 9.5 isn't terrible. This game finished at 10, 11 points. You wouldn't feel like it was a blowout. This is, for sure. But if you look at this game for real, New Orleans is terrible. One of the worst teams in the league, right? Among them. Denver is a really good team, and they play really well at home with that home field advantage they have in the altitude, everything. They're a good defensive team. They're a good team. So I don't think it's so far-fetched to think at home that they would blow these guys out. Now, with that said, we don't necessarily always want to just assume there's going to be a blowout, but I will say that Plumlee is a player with massive upside, and he doesn't need a ton of time. So if you are interested in grabbing a piece of his late night exposure and you think it's going to be a blowout, he's probably the first guy I bring in here. Because if he's in the game and you're getting blowout run, he's getting it against Okafor, Jackson Hayes. He's getting the good stuff. They're not playing favors in a blowout situation where Plumlee is getting that garbage run. Now, Plumlee's going to get minutes regardless, so that's great. But just throwing that out there, I think as far as if you're going for the blowout build, Plumlee definitely interesting. Problem, of course, is that he plays at center, which is just loaded. Real quick, want to give a shout out to those of you who are watching live. We'll do some old school Paulie. We haven't really done the top 3 thing on these because we normally lead into lock. But since we're not doing the lead into lock, we'll try to come up with some top 3s for now. Obviously, Paulie D's cheat sheet is up over at the site. You'll get his core plays in the cheat sheet along with the different tiers and his player pool. Cam's FanDuel sheet is up. My core plays article will be out in the morning for those of you watching this now live. But if you can all smash that like button while you're watching, make sure you subscribe to the channel so you're notified whenever we do go live. Much appreciated. It goes a long way. Allows us to continue to do the shows for free, do the dirty all over the YouTube thing, which is what we like to do. Dirty up YouTube.
I'm gonna do it.
You're gonna do it. He's gonna do it.
Logging into YouTube
Right now. He's doing it
under my girlfriend's name.
Boom. Let's go. Let's go.
One more time.
If you ain't cheating, you ain't trying.
I'll update my cheat sheet one more time before tomorrow too.
There you go.
You know, it's a first look sheet up right now.
There you go. First look sheet up.
So
let's go check it out. Projections also being updated. The final. I'm updating them tonight, but I have already for some, but they'll be fully updated by the morning. By the time my core plays article come out. So make sure you go check that out. Smash the like button. With that said, let's go ahead and get into some top three.
Yo,
what's up?
what do you think about Lonzo Ball? You know, we kind of glazed over on both, but he's gonna be popular at his price tomorrow. Where you at?
I'm gonna have some. I don't necessarily feel like I have to be overweight. You know, I'd like to get an idea of what I think he's gonna be owned right now. What are you thinking? Like 35, 30? It's a deep slate. So
I think 30.
You'd say 30. I don't mind being at the field.
It's deep, but it's only 5 games.
Right.
At the field.
I'd probably be somewhere at the field, or lower. I don't think I want to be higher though.
He started the last game and played less minutes than the two before coming off the bench.
Well, that's the whole issue, right? Is like his is going to depend on how he plays. He hasn't guaranteed a spot. If Brandon Ingram has the worst game of his life tomorrow, Brandon Ingram's still going to get 36 minutes. Yeah, he's already proven to this coach that he's a good player. Sure. Ball is not. So that's what makes me a little reluctant. He's very similar to Rondo. Him and Rondo are very similar plays. You don't know what you're going to get from either of them. They're similarly priced. You know, the minutes are going to vary. But again, like it's some late night hammer action, and you know, I wouldn't be surprised if he did do well. And on top of that, he's coming to a point where if we got the garbage time, would he not play? Like I don't know. Like,
nah, probably not. They let Walker do it.
Of course. But just
Rondo or
man,
Lonzo.
I feel like I personally like Rondo more. But if I was playing this, say I was doing a cash game and I had to pick one for sure. You know what I mean?
No. You're not playing any cash games. You're playing tournaments tomorrow. 150 teams. Who do you have more?
Rondo. I already said it. But with that said, I think that Rondo, I don't know, I feel a little more risky with Rondo, I think is what I'm trying to say. Even though I feel risky with Ball too, I don't know. I'm willing to take that risk more on Rondo though. You know? It's a good question though.
I don't like him either.
Yeah, I'm not crazy about it. Not crazy. But I will have some because I'm not trying to get like my Christmas ruined because this chalky, you know.
Yeah, you got it.
Yeah, it's just
you got it.
NBA DFS life. But I'll be at or under the field depending on where I think he'll end up. Let's get into some top threes here. We'll do top 3 studs, top 3 mid tier, top 3 value. That's what we'll do.
Okay.
Give me your top 3 studs.
All right. Above what price?
We'll say above. We'll say like what, Westbrook and above. Is there anybody below that? We'll say like 80, 85 and above. We'll include Lowry. 85 and above.
Okay. Embiid, Giannis, Lowry.
I'll go with Giannis, Embiid, and Paul George. Oh, I said 85. Paul George is probably more of a mid tier.
George is way below.
Yeah, he's mid tier. So I'll go. Let me switch that up. Giannis, Embiid, LeBron James. Now mid tier it up.
Down to what?
Down to 5K because we're gonna do value next. So you might as well open this tier up a little bit. I know it's gonna make the pool bigger, but take it down to like 5K, I guess.
All right. All right. He's for sure in there. Ooh. Ibaka. Wow. Russell, Lou Williams.
Oh man,
Ibaka, Lou Williams favors.
that is a tough one. Yeah. Oh man, yeah, that's a big tier. I should have opened up the stud tier more. I'll go Paul George, Lou Williams, Fred VanVleet. I mean, I want to say favors, but I guess Fred VanVleet I'd put over those guys right now. Wow, that's tough. Top three value.
Give me. Shout out to Patio Joe too in the chat doing the dirty.
Is Joey
OG
Joe
of the
in the chat?
nation.
Is he?
Yeah, he was in there. He was in there doing dirts.
Doing dirts.
Give me Glenn Robinson. Give me Brooke Lopez, and give me James Enos. Ooh, no, J. Michael Green ahead of James Enos.
Value. So I'll go with the chalky Danul House answer as my placeholder, but right now it's hard to get around that. I'll go with someone I didn't talk a ton about, mainly because I just kind of forgot. Paul Millsap at 4,600. Just a glutton for pain. And then for my third one, I'm gonna take a little bit more of a risk. You know what? Scratch Millsap. I'm gonna go House.
Zubats.
Not even. I'm gonna go House. I'm gonna go Rondo as my second one, and I'm gonna go Marquise Chris as my riskier value play.
Like that.
Seven. Thinking outside that box. But again, core play article will be out tomorrow morning. Once I'm finished with the projections and I really get an idea for where we're at. But the honest thing, I don't think that's changing. With that said, that's going to do it for us. Again, appreciate all you guys out there watching. Appreciate everybody hanging out with us on Christmas Eve or Christmas, really Christmas morning, man. The first thing you did on Christmas, if you're watching us live, is hang with the WiseTake Nation. Welcome to the nation. And if you've been here, you know what it is. You know what we do. It's been a minute since we did the late night stuff, though. Paulie, always a pleasure. Shout out to the nation. Merry Christmas. Don't forget to check us out at wisetake.com for more DFS help. If you're looking for a DFS community, you're looking for a DFS premium content provider designed to help make you a better player, come check us out. We got what you need to help you out. And, of course, like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notifications bell. Let's do dirties. Paulie, anything in closing for the nation before we get up out of here?
Twas the night before Christmas. Not a neighbor in sight. That was very good. Check out the Core 4. That was awesome.
Check out the Core 4 for sure. Did a little Christmas poem to open up the show. Because we're just gangster like that. That's what we do. We just do stuff. With that said, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays to everyone. For Paulie D, for myself, the entire WiseTake Nation. As always, good luck.
Sam.